Algeria is a tale and more. Its tale differed from all the tales told. Its historical events carried many lessons for all generations. A tale that was not written on paper like all tales and stories. Rather, it was on the remnant of its valiant children. As the ink wasn't in ink, rather been the blood pumped from the hearts of its sons and daughters, that until this very moment runs in the bowels of its land. A tale whose number of pages is as equal to the remains and sacrifices of the Algerian people. 1.5 million pages, one to the other, that carried sacrifices and lessons for those who pay heed.
والشعب الجزائري المجيد يا أبطالنا من جنود وفدائيين ومسبلين في كل مكان.
Le gouvernement provisoire de la République algérienne décide
تحيا الجزائر تحيا الجزائر تحيا الجزائر. نوفمبر جل جلالك فينا، ألست الذي بث فينا اليقينا. سبحنا على لجج من دمانا، وللنصر رحنا نسوق السفينة.
نداء إلى الشعب الجزائري. أيها الشعب الجزائري، أيها المناضلون من أجل القضية الوطنية، أنتم الذين ستصدرون حكمكم بشأننا. نعني الشعب بصفة عامة والمناضلون بصفة خاصة. نعلمكم أن غرضنا من نشر هذا الإعلان هو أن نوضح لكم الأسباب العميقة التي دفعتنا إلى العمل، بأن نوضح لكم مشروعنا والهدف من عملنا، ومقومات وجهة نظرنا الأساسية التي دفعتنا إلى الاستقلال الوطني في إطار الشمال.
Here, all the segments of the Algerian people understood that liberty could not be drops fed or pink promises. However, the armed struggle seemed as the sole path to reclaim liberty.
إن أهدافنا الأساسية هي الاستقلال الوطني بواسطة إقامة الدولة الجزائرية الديمقراطية الاجتماعية ضمن إطار المبادئ الإسلامية لتحقيق الوحدة الشمال إفريقية.
For a people balance of all the balances, astonishing the world with its high revolutionary performance, becoming a role model, though who birthed from the vacant a revolution in which the morals as principles, martyrdom as a weapon, liberty and freedom as an aim. All the Carters of the Liberation Revolution stipulated that the desired goal set by its leadership lies in restoring complete and undiminished national sovereignty, as the armed struggle was dictated by historical inevitability. The only thing remaining regarding this situation was the involvement of all the Algerian people and the abolition of all social differences, and uniting its ranks on one word of truth. And based on these goals, the 1st November statement gave a complete picture of awareness, maturity, and the ability to create discourse and persuasion, and that war is the only path to restore freedom. brutal war that lasted for nearly 8 years between a people armed with a steel will and a divine faith, and a great military force supported by all the capabilities of the NATO. During the preparation for the revolution, the country was divided into 5 historical wilayas, with arrangements being made to distribute weapons as well as resume military formation. The 1st of November marked the birth of the National Liberation Army as an armed movement, whose members were able to carry out dozens of operations and achieve successive diplomatic and military victories, the most important of which were the North Constantine offensive on 20th August 1955, thanks to the latter, as it gave the revolution a new breath for all at all levels. The most prominent of which is the registration of the Algerian cause on the agenda of the United Nations, immediately following the Bandung Conference, which was held on 18th April of the same year. This was a victory for Algerian diplomacy, which subsequently imposed itself and its presence in every session, with the absence of the French party from its sessions. On the pretext of that cause, it is not within the authorities' purview. From the year 1956 to the year 1958, the Algerian Revolution entered a new phase, as it worked to intensify its activity and restructure its strategy to confront the colonial machine, and from here came the decisions of the Somme Congress, which was held on the 20th August 1956, to set the broad outlines and organize the revolution in various fields, and activating propaganda to convey the voice of the Algerian Revolution through various media to international opinion. On the military level, the scope of the revolution was expanded to extend to the south of the country. The historical division of the states became 6 wilayas instead of 5. Training was opened for students joining the National Liberation Army. Popular councils were established on which guerrilla work was based, spreading a state of war in the cities and the villages to relieve the pressure of the Mujahideen in the mountains. Beginning with the 8-day strike on the 20th January 1957, which constituted rich material for the various media outlets that transmitted the picture to the whole world. Efforts continued to break the siege of the Algerian Revolution, and the National Liberation Front Federation in France was able to carry out a series of attacks that began on the night between the 24th and 25th August 1958, as it started from Le Havre in the north and extended to Morbihan, where this revolutionary activity led to heroic operations and attacks targeting economic and military units in the heart of the French colonizer, which historians considered as a precedent of its kind. Something that de Gaulle mentioned in his memoirs when he wrote, "Not a day goes by without the French falling in the heart of Paris itself." In continuation of the independence plan and in support of the institutions of the Liberation Revolution, the interim government was established on the 19th September 1958 to confirm once again the legitimacy of the struggle waged by the Algerian people against the French colonialists, in addition to employing diplomatic work on the external level to enable Algeria to present its cause in the corridors of the United Nations. In December 1958, the United Nations signed a regulation recognizing the right of the Algerian people to self-determination. In December 1958, the United Nations signed a regulation recognizing the right of the Algerian people to self-determination, which supported the Algerian cause and gave it a humanitarian and international dimension. This was clearly demonstrated during the 13th session of the United Nations, held on 9th December 1958, and it received unanimous support from Afro-Asian countries that voted in favor of Algeria by two-thirds majority, 52 countries to 18 countries supporting the French colonialism. The year 1960 was a year of victories achieved by the Algerian Revolution at all levels. It was the last peg in the coffin of colonial France. It constituted an excruciating hit to the French colonialists, which established the right of the Algerian people to self-determination in accordance with the UN regulations that stipulate granting independence to the colonial countries unconditionally, to which France finally submitted, forced, coerced to official and declared negotiations.
Le gouvernement provisoire de la République algérienne décide d'envoyer une délégation présidée par Ferhat Abbas pour rencontrer le général de Gaulle.
The diplomatic battle that the FLN delegation fought over the course of 2 years was no less important than the armed revolution, as the mission crowned with the ceasefire decision on 19 March 1962, with the Algerian delegation adhering to fundamental principles included in the 1st November statement based on unity of the national territory, not giving up any inch of it, and comprehensive independence. A self-determination referendum was also organized in which the Algerian people expressed their adherence to the demand for independence.
L'Algérie veut accéder à la vie internationale sans complexe, avec le désir sincère de coopérer avec tous les peuples.
5th of July, 1962, the prodigious date that will be forever remain engraved in the history of our memories, and the one that the Algerian people designed, even decided, to be the day of our independence, as it is the same date on which the French occupation set foot on the land of Algeria, 132 years ago. It was a majestic victory, as much as it was also a restoration of respect for the Algerians following France's celebration of the centenary of its colonization of Algeria. A history that showed the whole world that freedom is a requirement, not a demand, for colonial France, which was unable to conquer the Algerian people's will to gain their freedom and dignity, and regain their stolen land after 132 years of oppression, injustice, and slavery. What the Algerian people underwent during their glorious revolution will remain a scorching fire in the depths, a unified force, and a driving energy for us, a generation to a generation. And if strong faith and sincere patriotism and loyalty to the nation's constants are what made the heroes and heroines of the Liberation Revolution, as they died desperately in the fields of sacrifice and redemption for liberty, as these meanings, values, and principles are what made us today glorify those heroics and stands, and praise that resistant revolution that shattered on its rocks the dreams of brutal French colonialism, and brought down under its hammers the thrones of its tormentors and its tyrants, to change the course of history. In Reux, the 1st of November turned all the scales, and the 5th of July will emerge from it as a beacon that illuminates our path and the paths of all the oppressed in the world.
This is how the Algerian people rose up on their land to end the hell of a French colonialism that had oppressed Algerians for 132 years, during which the production line of death was operating without anyone stopping it. But its price was nearly 6 million shekels. We were bombs and cannons exploding in all parts of our country. We were the live bullets that wrote our victory. We were the beginning and the end, and we were the rest. And we changed the course of history in favor of a people who believed in freedom. Our message to all liberation movements in the world is to unite, for in your unity, your resistance will emerge and will remain the only way to regain the stolen dignity and freedom. For no matter how tyrannical the tyrant is, there is no escape from repelling the aggressor's attack. And as long as there is a usurper of the land and freedom of people, it will be broken on the rock of resistance that will not soften in the face of his inflated tyranny.